Hello again everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today is another video on the Spectrum. This is 5 random sports games to add to the Spectrum. I chose this because there are certain sports games that don't really fit into categories. Like you could do a category for golf games, football games, cricket games, blah blah blah. There aren't too many games in the category for something like basketball, something like that, so that might be a little clue as to what's coming up one of the games, but it's hard to describe this without maybe doing a bit of a spoiler on that one. But yeah, that's basically what my thinking was here, to try and get some of the games that don't really fit into a category where you're going to get a lot of entries. So without further ado, we'll crack on with the video. Here are 5 random sports games to add to the Spectrum. Okay, the first game we're going to talk about is Basket Master, also known as Fernando Martin Basket Master, released in 1987 for £7.95. It was released in the UK by Imagine, but in Spain it was originally published by Dynamic Software. It's a lovely looking game, this. There's a slight problem with it though, which we'll come on to in a bit, which is a slight problem for me, and it might be a slight problem for you if you don't have anybody to play the game with. The problem we're talking about here is the single player game is so difficult, and I don't think it's just because I'm rubbish, although you might want to tell me differently in the comments, but it's really hard. Let's have a look at the Crash review. It got 73% overall, 77% for presentation, 79% for graphics, 72% for playability, 69% addictive qualities, 73% overall. And backing me up here, it says on the comments, attractive, enjoyable and action-packed, but the computer opponent is much too hard for beginners. So it's not just me that sucks, basically. They say the same thing. Well, that's good. Let's read what Katie says. Basket Master is an impressive game. Graphics are extremely well defined. The movement of the sprites is realistic and shown in plenty of detail, particularly under the magnification of the action replay. Even the cheering audience performs its own little action. Strategy is important as quick reaction. Just rushing in and tackling your opponent only results in fouls, so the initial appeal should last. The only drawback is that on all levels, even the beginners, the computer is hard to beat. And I totally agree with that, for sure. Mark has said, go for the 2-player option in Basket Master. The computer opponent is almost impossible to beat. When you have control of the ball, he piles in, nicks it, and often scores a basket before you can even move. Basket Master is graphically nice, but suffers because it is far too hard to play properly. So that's sort of like the recommendation I would give, would be like, if you are going to play this game 2-player, it's a joy. And I must have used to play this 2-player when I was younger, because I definitely remember it being a lovely game to play. It's lovely to look at, and it does play a good game of basketball. But when I was recording it for the video, I was getting trounced by the computer. You either see a shot coming up in the video, or maybe it's already been on, I don't know at this point, because I line up all my audio and video afterwards. But I scored a basket, and it was from like the halfway line, or from further back. It was in my own half. It's the only way I could get a shot off. I couldn't get anywhere near the opponent's basket to, like, you know, take a short shot or whatever. So I got 3 points, but it was just a fluke completely. I don't think otherwise I would have scored. For some reason I did get a foul against me and got a couple of penalty shots, but I even managed to miss those. So yes, it's safe to say I was rubbish. It's the first time I played for a long time, but reading the review made me feel a little bit better about myself. So know that going in, if you're going to add this to the Spectrum, that the single player is going to be bloody hard. And let me know in the comments if you've ever beaten the computer, because I would like to know. It might just be that I suck, who knows, but if you're going for a game you want to play 2 players with somebody, definitely can't go wrong with this. It's a great game. Alright, the next game we're going to talk about is 10th Frame, released in 1987 for £8.99. I've got to look at a review later from Crash magazine. I couldn't find many great reviews for this game, which surprised me. I've always got good memories of playing 10th Frame. Again, it's a game I played primarily on the Commodore 64, so maybe it's just that the Spectrum game isn't as good. I love the Commodore 64 version, to be honest with you, but obviously recording this video for the channel, played the game. I kept messing the recording up, to be honest with you, but I wasn't that bothered that I had to keep replaying this game over and over again, because I was having a lot of fun. I find it very hard to get the ball to go where I wanted it to go. I couldn't quite understand the hook mechanics on it. I'll talk about that in a second, but I enjoyed playing the game. I thought it was good. And let's have a little look at the review. Like I said, this is from Crash. It got 65% for presentation, 61% for graphics, 59% playability, 56% addictive qualities, 51% for value for money, and overall 55%. A valiant attempt to convert a game that probably isn't suited to the Spectrum. Okay, interesting. Okay, we'll just read this bit here. It says the screen displays a natural 3D view of the bowling alley from a position above and behind the bowler. The bowler appears at the end of the alley and is moved left and right by use of keys. Pushing the forward key activates a marker which appears halfway down the alley. Left and right moves it in those directions, and using the marker you can aim where the ball is going to go. It crosses the marker as it travels down the alley. When everything is primed, the bowler can be made to bowl the ball by pressing the fire button. A speed and hook gauge at the bottom of the screen is used to control the strength and curve of each player's bowl. As the fire button is depressed, the speed indicator increases towards the speed zone. When it reaches this, the fire button has to be released, otherwise an error will be incurred. And upon release, the hook gauge comes into action. The indicator sliding downwards towards the hook zone. When it reaches this, the fire button should be pressed. Again, the timing is critical. Too much hook either side of the ball could mean the ball missing the pins altogether, which happened quite a lot for me. I thought it was going to be a bit like leaderboard, whereas if you've got a line that goes straight and then it can either go left or right depending on whether you stop it before or after the line. Well, it did work that way to an extent, but it seemed to be mostly that the ball was going to hook no matter what, and it was just a degree of how much it hooked. That's what I was finding a lot of the time when I was bowling. I was missing everything on the left because I was over hooking it. Again, it might just be like my understanding. I didn't bother reading the instructions because I thought I knew how to play the game, so again, it could be my bad on that one, but that's the way I thought it was going to work, almost like leaderboard. But it didn't quite work the same way, to be honest, but I still enjoyed playing it. And once I got used to bowling it, and I did mess the video up, like I said, a few times. A couple of times it didn't record for some reason. I'm having a little bit of trouble with my Elgato lately, and it said it was recording, but it didn't record, which was a bit weird. But I didn't mind restarting the game. I actually had a bit of fun with it. Let's have a look at some of the criticisms. 10-pin bowling isn't a game I would recommend for conversion to computer, especially not to the Spectrum. In fairness though, US Gold have made a determined effort. Unfortunately, their efforts may well prove to have been in vain. The result isn't very good. Well, I don't agree with that actually. I actually quite like the game personally, but the graphics are fairly average with some nice animation on the bowler, but the game's biggest downfall is the annoying pause after every go. Overall, I think that 10th frame should be given careful consideration before purchase, even by a dedicated fan of the sport. See, I don't mind that. They're trying to show that what would happen at a proper bowling alley. You know, you bowl, you hit the pins, and then obviously the little pin thing goes into action and picks them up and sweeps them out. They're just trying to make it realistic, you know. I just don't. Yeah, the only thing I would say, and I don't know if that's the point they're trying to make there, is whenever you've bowled and it does do that and you've done your 2 bowls, it does go straight into the scorecard and you have to press the button to come out of it and start again. So that's a little bit of a delay, but nothing too serious there. 10th frame hasn't quite survived the transfer from the Commodore to the mighty Spectrum. Lost in the process is the sound and atmosphere and a lot of the playability. Graphics are as good as could be expected, but a bit too wireframey to look at very realistic. The game has all the basic features of bowling. Unfortunately, none of them are very well implemented or expanded upon. I'm surprised about that because I still think it plays okay, unless they are really like comparing it to the Commodore 64 version. If that was the case, I would say yeah, the Commodore 64 version is nice to look at and plays a lot better. It does, there's no denying that, but I still think this is a very good game on the Spectrum, and I think it's definitely worthy of consideration. I had a lot of fun playing it for the video, and I would imagine that a lot of people will have fun, and I would imagine it's another game that's going to get better like the more players you play with. You know, it's not action packed, you don't all have to be going at the same time, so it's definitely a game you can play with multiple players, and it'll be a lot of fun, I would think. So I say it's a no-brainer to add personally. I definitely say add it to your Spectrum, you won't be disappointed. Okay, next we have Daley Thompson's Super Test, which was released in 1986. Now I chose the 128K version here, and it's not giving me a price, so it just says it came free with the 128K computer, so don't officially have a price, but there you go. Daley's Super Test, in case you didn't know, it's got 12 events: rowing, penalties, ski jump, tug of war, triple jump, 100-meter sprint, javelin, 110-meter hurdles, pistol shoot, cycling, springboard diving, and giant slalom. So there's a mixture of events there. The spiritual successor, of course, to Daley Thompson's Decathlon, and a lot of fun. I do like this game. I've got a Sinclair user review. They gave it 4 out of 5, and I'll read you some of the. I should probably read all the review actually, because it's only a short review. Yeah, I've had a lot of trouble finding like a lot of reviews for this game, to be honest with you. So this was the best one I could find, which is not a great review, but there we go. It's not, I don't mean in terms of quality, it's just not a very long review, and also it's in black and white. I like to try and find colour reviews if I can. But anyway, it says the world world famous t-shirt enthusiast is back again in a repeat showing of some of his favourite events in the 128k version of Daily Thompson's Super Test. 12 separate events are included, 4 from Daily's Decathlon and all 8 from the sequel, the 48k Super Test. Then it gives the full list of events, which I've already told you. Game takes an enormous time to load, but all the events go in all at once, so you don't have to mess about playing 4 or 5 at a time, but you still only get 3 lives for the whole lot. That makes things a good bit more difficult. For those who are not yet aware of such novel concepts as joystick fatigue, there are 2 basic techniques involved in playing these games. Smashing the joystick left and right at high speed builds up power, speed, energy or whatever, and pushing the fire button at just the right moment for the correct length of time will allow you to hit targets, jump, throw things at the correct angle, and so on. The game opens with a dramatic rendition of the theme tune from Chariots of Fire to put you in the mood. Short bursts of alleged music, alleged music, that sounds harsh, link the various sports, and new sounds have been put into some of the events for firing pistols. The 8 Super Test events look very much the same as the original events, but 4 from Daily's Decathlon have been juiced up to a similar standard of graphics. The old flickery Daily is now much more solid, and the backgrounds are more pleasantly coloured. This sort of compilation program, while it offers nothing of any great novelty, makes sense on the 128. It's a distinct advantage to be able to play all the events loaded on a single load. Our rating is not based on the value for money, as Super Test is free with the Spectrum 128, at least for the time being. In the meantime, it's a good addictive game for new users to get into quickly and will obviously have a wide appeal. I used to love this game when I was younger. I think it's because we were so starved of football games, and the thought of having penalties on a game, I really loved it. I know that sounds really sad, but it wasn't the best obviously either on that department, but it's a good compilation of all these games. Again, the only downside to these, I guess, when you add them to either a new console or any console these days, and the only downside to it back then too was the joystick bashing, because it's always a concern, isn't it, with that sort of thing, that you are going to break your joystick at some point, and that's never a good thing when the stick goes. This day and age, if you're using a more modern controller with the Spectrum to play these games, which I will probably be using a PS4 controller if it works, you do worry about stick drift and stuff like that. So again, it's in your own hands whether you feel like that is a necessary thing you want to take a chance on or not. Personally speaking, I'm going to put it on for the memories. I played this a lot when I was younger. I used to like, obviously I'm a sports fan, as we all know on this channel, and I used to like the multi-event nature, the fact you could play different things is very cool. Some of the events are a bit weird, like tug of war for example, bit of a strange one that. I remember liking the pistol shooting, and I love triple jump as an event anyway, so I like the triple jump, and the penalties was the thing obviously that drew me in initially, but good fun to play with your mates. Again, all I would say is obviously, you know, if you are concerned about your stick, or if you're playing it, I don't know, I'm assuming the Amiga 500 mini gamepad's going to work with this. It might be tricky to play on something like that, obviously, you know, if you haven't actually got a stick, so bear that in mind before you add it. But it'll be going on mine for pure nostalgia, because I did play this a lot when I was younger, and maybe you can just play some of the easier events. You know, you don't have to necessarily play the ones that involve a load of joystick bashing if you don't want to. But yeah, a great game. I loved it back in the day, and I definitely think it's going on mine for sure. Like I said, just have a think about it for you, if it's right for you or not. Me being a sports nut, no brainer really. On to game number 4 on this list. It is Grand National from Elite, released in 1985 for £6.95. This was an interesting game. We didn't have a lot of horse racing games like this. A lot of the games back early in the days, what you would have a game where you could literally watch the horse race going on and maybe bet on it. We had a few games like that. I remember one on the Commodore Amiga that was really good, but we didn't really have one where you could actually ride the race, and this one you could control the horse. You could go left and right across the course, you could whip your horse to go faster, and you could press a button to jump over the fences as well. So it was pretty cool in that sense. Also included in the game were real horses, and an interesting thing on the inlay of the game, you have a list of all the horses, the kind of ground that they prefer to run on, and it gives you tips on whether they're like a good starter to the race, a bad finisher, a good finisher, if they're a good all-round horse. So it's really cool actually. I like the little note at the end of that. It says some of the horses used may not actually run in the 1985 or any other Grand National. At the time of writing, no lists were available, the final runners being decided only a few weeks before Grand National Day. So just in case you wanted to sue them or anything for like saying that a horse was going to run that didn't, if you were that sad But they describe it on the case as well as Elite Grand National is a computer game that combines strategy and arcade action to reproduce all the excitement of the world's most famous horse race. That all being said, we're now going to look at a crash review for this game. It scored 79% overall. We've got that old use of computer mark back again, 60% for use of computer on this one, not sure why. Graphics 85%, playability only 62%, getting started 78%, addictive quality 72%, value for money 70%, overall 79%. It's got all the control keys on there, nice smooth scrolling action, good horse animation, great tune that goes on a bit, can't interrupt it, no other sound. There you go. And general rating, the best horse racing simulation for Spectrum, mixed opinions on playability and addictive qualities. Yeah, it is mixed opinions really, isn't it? Considering like 62%, it's pretty low. I'm going to pick my moments from this. Before the race proper, the player must exercise same judgment in picking a mount as he would choosing a horse to back. After the selection has been made, the screen changes to show a view of the course. The main part of the screen is taken out with a bird's eye, non-perspective view, showing the part of the field occupied by your horse and its immediate neighbours. On the screen's top right is a profile shot of your mount. This view is very important as jumping is one of the most difficult tasks you will be expected to perform. In respect of the split screen graphics, Grand National resembles Show Jump from IMS. Your mount can be steered left and right and encouraged to go faster by using the whip key, which must be applied decathlon style. Yeah, so basically you'll get stamina and stuff like that. You don't want to go too early because you're going to use all your stamina up. Other information given would make a real jockey green with envy, for not only is there a map of the course complete with a tracking dot and fence indicator, but the horse's energy and speed are given in bar graph form, one on each side of the screen. Even more information is provided at the base of the screen, number of fallers, number of horses retired and total horses still running. You're even told the number of the leading horse and your own position in the field. If you fall, then the race is concluded immediately, but the finishing positions are given in the race report. If you have ridden your race in an ungentlemanly manner, barging into other horses for example, you could face a steward's inquiry. This may only lead to a fine, but you could be banned, which would do little for your career. The method adopted for increasing the horse's speed is a little difficult to come to terms with. All riders know that the whip is an aid, whereas the game requires player to use the whip continuously in order to maintain speed. Such indiscriminate use would have a real jockey banned for life. Yeah, true. Grand National is a substantial improvement over the last efforts, one of the best to emerge from Elite stable. Oh god, here we go, here's the comedy jokes. I would have thought this game was well worth considering. So there you have it. They do recommend it, and I like on the comments at the end it says use of colour suitably green. Above average. So there you go. Yeah, I think it's a really nice game to look at. If you've got any interest in horse racing, it's good. And if you've got any interest in the Grand National, of course, even more interesting. Me personally, it's pretty much the only horse race I ever watch every year, so it's all contained in one game for me really, and that is perfect. It's a good game, good fun, and I think definitely I would consider it. If you are a fan of the sport, if you're not into whipping horses, which let's face it, most of us aren't, but you know what I mean. If that kind of thing offends you, then maybe you won't find much in this, but just remember, it's only a game. So we've come to the final game, and probably my favourite on this list, 180 from Mastertronic, £2.99, released in 1986. A good fun darts game, and a game I used to be quite good at, so it's probably why I like it more than anything. It's not actually, it's a good game, that's not the reason why. I don't like easy games, so you know, it's not like, I'm not saying this is easy, but I'm just saying I don't need to be good at a game to enjoy it. Let's have a look at the Your Sinclair scores. Again, you'll see gameplay while I'm talking about this for a little bit. Graphics were 7. That's quite stingy. I like the graphics in this game. Playability 9, value for money 8, which I'm a bit surprised about considering it only costs £2.99, and addictiveness 9. There's some interesting scores there, shall we say. Let's have a look at the review. 180 is quite simply the best pound for pound dart simulation you'll ever lay your mitts on. Okay, but maybe at the time they should say that. Although I can't think of many better darts games actually. It's one of those sports that's not very well represented, and if the noble art of pint pots and fag ends isn't your cup of tea, fear not. This stands up as a specky game in its own right, requiring the kind of hand-eye coordination that any arcade adept will be proud to exhibit. What's more, it's actually 2 games in one. The practice mode is not played in competition, but is a fine test of your own nerve. You have 90 seconds to go around the board from 20 to 1. This not only teaches you how to throw at speed and find your way around the board, but introduces you to the throwing technique. This is rather disconcerting on 2 counts. First, the screen presents you with a conventional dart and and blackboards. But hovering before it like a hand of Orlak or bit part from Friday the 13th is a well realised disembodied hand. What is more, it shakes. Thinking this was me, I partook of more liquid refreshment. Eventually the hand stopped, but I found the room was revolving around me instead. Yes, don't be silly. Although this game is keyboard compatible, joysticks suit it like Fergie loves Andy. There's a topical reference of the time. The joystick motion needed to control the hand is doggedly diagonal, whilst the hand essentially rotates in a wider and wider circle. So you can only fire on the move, in brackets tricky, and the earlier you fire the better, except of course you'll have less time to aim. So yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, I guess, but once you master the technique, I mean, you'll see in the gameplay footage, obviously I move the hand quite a lot around and go back and forth until you're at the right position. That's the trick. Your opponents come in 9 guises like Belly Bill and Sure Shot Sid. Don't be put off by the silly names. You'll always go first in the compo, which means in theory you'll be on the first double. I didn't actually notice that when I was playing it, but yeah, you do actually go first every time, which is not representative of real darts, is it? They could have mixed that up a little bit there. The last guy I played though, Jammy Jim I think his name was, my god, he didn't miss anything. He literally had a 9-dart finish, so I had no chance. In its presentation, 180 does veer towards the macho, crafty Cockney Bristow school of darts, rather than that of Gentleman John Lowe, but otherwise there's little to quibble about. A winner across the board. There's a little bit as well in this review which I skip. After your throw, there's a simulation of the Oppo's go. Texts tell you his target and what he gets, while in the background pints are pulled and dogs cock their legs, which I noticed on my go. Yeah, dog starts peeing up the bar, which is quite funny. But yeah, I think this is a very good, very playable game, and I know there's a few people that have said in the comments like that this is a game they will be adding to the Spectrum, so I know there's a few of you out there for sure that agree on this one. And who doesn't love a little bit of darts, eh? We all play it from time to time when we go to the pub and stuff like that. So I used to be actually really good at darts. I've actually got like a competitive 180 in my time, which is like one of my claims to fame. I actually got a trophy for that when I used to play darts, and I used to really enjoy it actually. But I'm one of them people that I have to get absolutely bladdered before I can play. It steadies my hand completely. If I go up there sober, I'm rubbish. But get a few beers in me and I'm pretty good at darts, to be fair. Not so this game. I reckon it'd be the opposite on this game. If I was playing this game, I'd probably need to be sober. You know, the more pissed I got, probably the worse I'd get. But this is probably my most fun game to play on this list, and an absolute no-brainer to add to the Spectrum for me. Without a shadow of a doubt, this is going on mine, and I'm pretty sure if you've played it before, it'll be going on yours too. Okay, that was 5 random sports games to add to the Spectrum. Those games were Basket Master, 10th Frame, Bailey Thompson Super Test, Grand National, and 180. So you can see there what I said at the beginning, really, that these games don't really fit into a category where there's going to be a lot of entries. Like, I can't think of a lot of 10-pin bowling games or horse racing games or darts games. You know, there might be a few. I'm not going to dispute that, but maybe not enough to do a full category list. So I kind of figured it might be good to do random sports games, and maybe there'll be another one coming further down the track. I know sports games aren't everybody's favourites though, so I might not do another one. We'll see. I haven't done the big sport yet, football, so I'm probably going to do a football and a cricket one before we hit the end. And I know they're not the most popular, but to me sports games are my favourite games to do, so I will probably be doing more lists with those on, but we'll mix it up a little bit. And we've done a couple of sports ones now. Probably the next one will be a bit different. I've got something planned for the next video, but I'm not going to reveal what that is just yet. But it won't be a sports one. It's going to be something a little bit different. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you did like the video, please do give it a thumbs up, because that really does help. And if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe if you would, and again that helps too. And also hit the bell if you want to know when the new videos are going up. I'm trying to get more and more up these days. It takes a while to produce these videos because you have to like record the audio and record the gameplay and do all the graphics and then edit it all together. So it does take a little while to do these videos, but I'm kind of getting a bit of a dab hand at it now, so I've kind of got a system when I do them. So hopefully I might be able to churn a few more out for you, and hopefully there'll be some interesting categories. If you want to suggest a few videos in the comments, as ever, please do. I listen to all your advice and take every comment on board, even the nasty ones, before I delete them. Just kidding. I don't get too many of those, like I've said before, but thank you for all the nice comments. I do appreciate it. Didn't get any on the golf video, but I can assume that's probably because people don't really like the golf games as much. They're not as popular, are they? I mean, I love them personally, but they're not always. The sports ones aren't always as popular with everybody, so it is what it is. But yeah, if you've got any suggestions, or if you've played any of these games, let me know. I like to hear tales of like when you played them and if you like the games, all that sort of stuff. Okay, thanks so much for watching everybody. Take care. See you soon on the next video. Bye for now.